Hello, hello.
Uh,
Can you hear me, guys?
I can hear you, yeah.
Shrike?
Don't know where Strike's gone.
I knew something's going to happen. I knew it. It always
Yeah, it had
does.
to.
Well, till Shrike fixes his issue, can you tell us something about yourself, Forteze? What is your role in this team, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. So, along with Shrike, I'm one of the co-writers of the project. My background is really in film and film production, and I worked a lot with Shrike on that basis, on kind of story development and developing the world of the game, the world of Unlinked, and yeah, we've been sort of dreaming of doing something this vast and on this scale for some time, bringing in the kind of interest that we have in sci-fi and the kind of inspirations that we'll talk about a bit. I think with some of the questions that we've had. But yeah, the idea behind Unlinked is to create something that's a vast playable environment. And we were excited to work to create something that was, if you will, across the whole solar system. So that's sort of where we started from. And we originally, because we have this film background, we originally thought that we might do it as a film, but then we quickly became more interested in the idea of a game, and that's why there's a sort of tabletop collectible card game version as well, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Oh man, I cannot wait for that. To beat my friends in another game.
Yeah, exactly. That's the idea. That hopefully there's a nice kind of competitive element to Unlinked as well. Yeah.
Only problem is I don't have any friends to play with.
Well, listen. Well, I'm sure you'll acquire some. You know, as this experience goes on, I'm sure we'll find you some people to play against anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Where are you from, by the way?
So I'm from London originally.
Oh, UK.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But your accent was from UK.
Yeah.
Can you say hello, mate?
Hello, mate. Hello, mate. Yeah, it's a phrase that I use a lot. It is a genuinely British phrase.
Oh yeah. Every time someone says a mate to me, I know he's English.
Yeah. What about you, Bruce? Where are you from?
I'm from Romania.
Romania. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Is it though?
No, it is. It is. I love Romania. I've been there a couple of times. I really liked it.
I mean, you probably love the women from here, not the country itself.
No, I like the country itself. I went to some interesting parts of Romania.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Went to Cluj. Went to Sibiu. Been to Bucharest. Yeah, been to a few parts of Romania.
Nice.
Guys.
Oh, finally.
Do you hear me? Finally, here I am.
We were out of subjects. We were actually talking about women.
We were talking about women in Romania, right? Yeah. Come on. Here we go.
Oh, nice. Can I join?
Yeah.
Well, so Forteze. By the way, how do you spell your name? Forteze?
Forteze, yeah.
All right.
Forteze.
Shrike, can you tell us about yourself and your role in the team? Your position?
My role in the team is I am one of the writer of this project. So I have to say that originally I wrote this project as a movie. It was a screenplay.
Oh. Okay.
And after I wrote that screenplay, I realized that the story was too big for just a movie, and so I talked about a series. And but this story is too much horizontal for a series, and so we decided together with Ed to transform it in the plot of a video game. And so our role is we are the creators of this project.
All right. So you're basically my boss.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, from making a movie or a series from Netflix, you came to the NFT space. That's a long jump.
No, I have to say that I'm a huge video game player. So I always had this dream to produce a video game. So I'm really inside video games. And so this possibility arrived with this story, and so we decided to transform it in.
What are your top 3 favorite games? I know
Nice
it's tough,
question.
but we want to see maybe your inspiration, your background, to see what kind of style you have.
Okay, maybe my favorite game of every time is Baldur's Gate.
Oh, okay.
All the series of Baldur's Gate. Then I really love Divinity, Original Sin, all that series. I love so much Horizon Zero Dawn because of all the backstory. It's amazing to me.
Oh my god, I have 100 hours in that game.
Yeah, I love that game. I really love that game. It's amazing. And becoming older, I'm beginning to prefer the game with a big story behind. When I was a young guy, 15 years old, I used to play a lot at FPS.
Basically, you went from competitive to more relaxing gameplay.
Maybe, yeah. No, I can't say relaxing because I really like also the action games. But I like when there is a story behind too. I like to be. I like to follow the story inside the game while I'm playing well, of course.
All right. Well, I guess we're gonna move on to the questions then.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Fire
First
away.
question. What exactly is the advantage of the golden frame?
Okay, so basically there are 2 advantages. I'll try and keep this brief, but there are basically 2 advantages. One is that you're whitelisted for the Shearstone drop, and what that means is that it gives you then exclusive access to the first sale. So that's the kind of immediate short-term advantage. The more long-term advantage, the second one is that collectible cards will be gold-framed, will have a gold frame in decks. So when the decks are created, there will be gold cards randomly allocated or randomly dropped, if you will. And gold cards multiply your rewards from a mission. The advantage of the golden frame is that the golden frame is the only way of crafting a gold card. So I hope that's clear, but basically it's the only way of crafting a gold card without getting one randomly. That crafting process is the way that we're thinking at the moment. That crafting process is going to begin once we've done those. The first, the series of Shearstone drops that we've already announced. So after that, we'll enable the crafting process. So as and when they want to, people could start crafting gold cards if they have a frame.
Yeah. So basically, having a gold card will have a bigger rewards than the normal cards, and the gold frames are limited. So gold cards itself are limited.
Yeah.
All right, that's
fast.
so gold frame is a good thing to have, I guess.
Yeah. So that's really where the advantage lies. So and it gives us a bit of agency for the user. You know, they can choose when to use that. So use the frame. So that's the appeal of it.
All right. Moving on to the next question. How many tokens will the project have?
Okay, so this is something that we've talked a little bit about in the white paper for anyone who's had a chance to look at the white paper, the working version that we've got at the moment. There are 3 tokens. The main token is the sharp, and then there are two other secondary tokens which are called grain and plasma. So to just basically, this I think is there have obviously been a lot of questions about the tokens. So I'm just going to I'll describe both of them a bit in turn, and I think that maybe that will answer a few questions that we've had on this subject.
Right.
And I know that it's always probably a bit tricky to describe in words. So again, what I would say is the tokenomics section of the white paper does have some of this stuff outlined, but also we're going to be publishing an infographic with more details on this, hopefully in the next few days. But basically, this is how it works. So for the sharp, for the main token, there's going to be a limited daily pool of sharps. So every day a limited number are released. This pool is then distributed to users, players on a percentage basis after every game. There are moments when this pool will be larger, and other times it will be smaller. And the pool is refreshed, at various points in the day. So what that means is that's to take into account the time zone. So if you're in Europe, it may be at a favorable time that pool is refreshed. If you're not in if you're not in Europe, if you're, for instance, in Asia, then it may be at a convenient time. But it will be refreshed. That pool of sharps, as I say, will be refreshed at different points in order to try and create a kind of equity. And sharps are dropped or are given as rewards for every completed mission. Okay, so that's the basic, the main token, and you acquire those as rewards for every mission that you complete. The other 2 tokens, grain and plasma, have a very limited supply, and that's purposefully the case, and I'll say a little bit about that in a moment. Players use these 2 tokens to play. So to start playing, a player needs grain.
Okay.
If you think about it, grain is a bit like having resources. It's a bit like having food or things that you can use. And the other secondary token, plasma, is a bit like your health. So you need to have the resources to start the game. And one of the interesting things that we've done is that the outcome of your mission or the game you take part in is that the amount of plasma you have, the better your result will be. So ideally, you need to have high plasma in order to then have a better result or outcome to the mission, for instance, the contract that you sign up to, or that you're assigned originally. So those are the three main tokens. The 3 tokens, with sharp as the main token and grain and plasma as the secondary token.
Oh man, at the first glance sounds a bit complicated. Cannot wait for the infographic so people can actually understand it.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, there's more that I could say about that, but I think it'll be easier to understand in an infographic.
Well, that's a good
gives
thing.
you a basic
in the
idea.
white paper or in the infographic that we are going to release in the next days.
Right, cannot wait for that. It's a good thing to have a little bit of complicated tokenomics because that means it has more uses, right? Not just simple, I don't know, craft and dump.
Yeah. The idea really behind how these 2 tokens relate to each other is to create a kind of perfect circular economy. That's sort of the idea. And I won't go into, as I say, the sort of technicalities of that, but we think that we've put together a sort of system that works quite well in terms of using the limited supply in order to ensure that there is circularity, so you don't have this, boom and bust almost effect. That's the idea.
All right. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next question. Considering that we need 10 shear stones to blend, what is the limit of claiming for the free drops?
So you can claim one shear stone for free. The others you would then have to buy or trade on for instance, on Atomic Hub.
All right. Well, each drop has 3 steps to it, right? First whitelist is for golden frame holders. The second whitelist is for server boosters, and the third phase is public drop. So if you, for example, if you hold the golden frame and if you boosted the server and you got whitelisted, you can claim 3 shear stones in a single drop.
Right.
Okay. Next.
I believe so, but I might have to double check. Yeah. I hesitate slightly there, but
Okay. What is your plan to be sustainable in the long term? Most projects last only for 1 to 2 months.
yeah, so this is a question that has come up quite a lot. So the big question is, from a development point of view, we see sustainability as coming from continuous development. So as we move towards phase 2, the world of Unlinked will be expanding and developing as time moves forwards. That increases the amount of actions that players can undertake in the metaverse, and that is designed to continue their interest and therefore drive the project's sustainability. So that there'll be a variety of actions that you can perform, and that we also have what we think is a quite strong narrative element behind some aspects of this world, and that I think the idea is to continue to maintain people's interest because of that element as well. And then there are things like other aspects that are more linked to gameplay. So one thing that is interesting is that, contrary to some other games, accumulating a lot of NFTs doesn't actually necessarily give you a major advantage. So it's not that it will suddenly sort of again peak and then die. And I think again, what we were saying about plasma and grain being produced in limited numbers and then released to the community, immediately released to the community of players, should also create a level of consistency and therefore sustainability, because it's the community itself that is driving it. That's in short basically why we think it's going to be more sustainable.
Yeah, for sure. The community for every game, at least every blockchain game, is the backbone for every project. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Will the game run on Unity or is it 2D?
Okay. So phase 1, which is the early, we call the early game, will actually run on Angular. And then, so that's phase 1 until phase 2. Phase 2, which is the metaverse, will run on Unity. And that's, as I say, is being developed and will undergo kind of continuous development. I think there was someone else asked about Unreal Engine, but we thought that Unity would probably be a more accessible platform. So the metaverse will run on Unity. The early game will run on Angular.
Right, awesome. Do you have any plans to make it beneficial for users to play on one account as opposed to multiple accounts?
This is a difficult one, but we're looking to develop the game in a way that multiple accounts won't actually be beneficial. Really. It doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it will. It won't actually be more beneficial for users to have multiple accounts. And that particularly applies to phase 2, I think. So yes, that is in our planning. Yes.
Okay. How are you going to promote your project?
Well, we will using all the relevant channels we have. So obviously the partnerships that we put together, and the kind of team that we've built. We're obviously going to be doing banners on Atomic Carbon and NFT. We're waiting for verification for those. We obviously have our various social media platforms that are up and running. And so those are the kind of the standard promotional activities that we will do and follow on. The other thing that I think is maybe important that we'll talk about a bit in with other questions is that the idea of the collectible card game and its Kickstarter campaign will kind of provide further promotional opportunities because those players that might be initially more interested in that aspect and therefore more drawn to a Kickstarter campaign and the artwork and the world of Unlinked in that format will then hopefully there'll be a nice kind of cross pollination, where people from let's say from the digital sphere will be interested in the tabletop collectible sphere and vice versa. So that's the idea, that there's some crossover.
That's definitely ideal. And a big plus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is your inspiration behind this project?
Ugo, I've it's all been me. So you can
Your time to shine.
Your English is very better than mine, Edward.
Yeah, I know, but
it's
still.
a pleasure to hear. No, our inspirations are various, and I think that what inspired me the most when I wrote the first. The first part of this project was the universe of The Expanse. That is a series on television, but it's also a series of book. It's very nice. I also love all the Hyperion Chantos. That is a series of 4 books by Dan Simmons. That is a masterpiece in my opinion. And then another inspiration was for sure The Foundation. It is one of my favorite books. And we have a lot of place where to take ideas because I'm really inside sci-fi. And so, as I said, we have a lot of inspirations.
All right. Game phase 1 on testnet scheduled for Q2 2022. Is this going to be actual working gameplay as pictured in the white paper, the metaverse, or is it that in Q3?
That's in Q3. So Q2 is just is phase 1, which will be 2D. That'll be on testnet and then mainnet, and then in Q3 we'll then move to phase 2. In other words, the metaverse, which involves the walking gameplay, obviously.
Awesome. Will Unlinked be browser based or .exe style?
So the phase 1, the 2D will probably be browser based.
Okay.
But the metaverse is going to be too complex for a browser. So It will probably have its own client.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. If we can make that happen. But yes, I'm pretty confident that will be doable.
Okay. When will there be more information about the tokenomics, grain, plasma, and sharp? For example, maximum supply and distribution breakdown per distributor NFT.
Okay. I have to kind of half answer this really, but the maximum supply will communicate as soon as we can. But basically, our approach is that we want it to be as equitable as possible. So I can't really say much more about that now. In terms of the distribution breakdown, there isn't a fixed number. It all depends. It's all going to depend on the number of distributors and, as we were talking about before, and the community in terms of how much the community choose to craft. So, for instance, through crafting, you increase the rarity of the distributors, and that then has an influence on the breakdown. If you see what I mean.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, as I say, that's a slightly provisional answer, but there isn't a, as I say, the important thing is that at the moment in terms of distribution breakdown, there isn't a fixed number yet.
Okay. What will be the gameplay of this game? Will there be actual gameplay like walking around? I guess you already answered that in the previous question.
Yeah. As I say, we want it to be this vast and varied playable environment when we get to phase 2. So phase 2 in the metaverse is when you have the walking around element of the game. Phase 1 is quest based. Phase 1 is in 2D and is quest based, and therefore there isn't the walking around element in the same way. And what that involves, as I think we outline in the white paper as well, is that players are assigned contracts, which are missions effectively, and then that involves them using a combination of characters / tools with the cards they have for a given quest. So, for instance, a quest might be that you need to go somewhere and repair a faulty space station, for instance. I'm just inventing. If you need someone to do maintenance on the shuttle, the space shuttle, you wouldn't send a soldier to do that task. You would send a mechanic. So you'd have to you use the cards that you have in order to best try and complete the quest that you're assigned. And then phase 2, because it has both this casual element of walking around, discovering the world, and then crafting cards, etc. And we hope that the idea is that the gameplay will expand because certain actions will vary according to the environment that you're in. So, for instance, you might be on Mars and only be able to craft certain cards on Mars, and that would mean that you have to move from Earth to Mars to do so, which involves a journey. You have to take that into account. And so this is where we start to, as I say, create something that's richer and vaster and try and bring in some of the narrative elements that drive that.
Right. Awesome. I can see that Farmington's developer team are partners of this project. How much are they involved in Unlinked exactly?
Well, the Farming Tales development team is still working on Farming Tales. So there's a distinction to make here, because the company behind Farming Tales, Nodo 42, is providing technical support on technical aspects of Unlinked. So they have personnel that are working. That Nodo 42 have personnel that are working with us on Unlinked. But Farming Tales continues, as far as I'm aware, is ongoing, and they continue to develop that. So yeah, I would just make that distinction, because it's not as if the Farming Tales team has sort of moved here. Nodo 42, we have a partnership with Nodo 42, and they, as I say, provide technical support to help us develop this game, because I certainly don't have the technical capacities to achieve what we're trying to achieve. So yeah.
All right. For a card game to be successful, it takes a bunch of loyal and dedicated super fans like Magic and Vanguard. Considering there are quite a substantial number of flippers in the project, what are the plans of the team to build this solid base of super fans? I read a book from a book about super fans that any personality, brand, or institution only needs 1,000 super fans to be successful.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I absolutely agree with you. I think that's absolutely true. Our view is that these super fans are largely going to be developed and involved quite early on with the Kickstarter campaign on the collectible card game, so that you generate interest to a different audience through that campaign, which is one that's connected to the collectible card game world and the artwork that's associated with that and the lore that you attach to that. And because those fans will be potentially more interested initially in that element, so in the physical cards, they may then be intrigued to know that the cards obviously have an NFT equivalent. So it goes back a little bit to what I was saying before, which is we want to increase, to say, the connection between the tabletop game and the digital version on the blockchain. And this, I think that I absolutely agree that you need a sizable number of super fans. But at the moment, I think that given our own we have a bit of a background in some of these games as that you mentioned there, as players, we're very aware that you need to make that game in itself one that's appealing and engaging and creates an exciting world. So I think that hopefully that cross-pollination will happen, and that will enable people who perhaps didn't know the collectible card game to become interested in it, having found out about Unlinked because of NFTs, for instance.
Well, I'm sure they will do, because tabletop games are actually really popular. There's no reason not for people to not to get involved in the real part of the project. Okay.
So yeah.
How can you compete with seasoned big games on Wax? I do believe that sustainability, longevity of the game equals profitability for both devs and the players.
Yeah, I mean, I think we would probably all agree with that. I think here, one of the big differences here to maybe some other projects that certainly I'm aware of on Wax is that Unlinked is not an idle game, it's not going to be an idle game. There's a skill-based element to it. There is a strategic element. There will be strategic elements to it. And there, I think we draw quite a lot on our interest in RPG and also player versus player games. And that's, I think, a major that kind of skill-based element is a real plus point for us for the game. And or for this playable environment, I should say. And the blockchain, I can't think of many similar examples like that on the blockchain. So I think that's where we show people that we're trying to do something different and hopefully exciting. That's a very vast world. That's and also I think. This is my background, so of course I would emphasize this narrative element. But yeah, I think that the narrative behind it, as and when players and users, if they become interested in that world, there is a vast lore and kind of background to Unlinked. We, as I say, Hugo began writing this as a screenplay, and so we want to be able to share some of those narrative elements, and I think that is another thing which probably distinguishes us from some other projects on Wax. Yeah,
that's a very good answer. I like it. I like what I hear.
Good, good.
Okay. Will Unlinked have auctions like Farming Tales? I think he's
Yeah.
referring to auctions on Discord based on tokens from the game.
Okay.
Yeah, there will be auctions also in Unlinked.
Okay. Well, that was the last question actually. It's time to pick some live questions from the chat. Are you ready to get surprised?
Oh yeah, here we go. Big surprises. Come on.
Okay, let's see. How will you target new players?
How would we target new players? Well, it depends. It depends if you mean new players that are already engaged with the NFT world, or new players. Yeah, I might need a bit more information there. Generally, what I think that we would do is that I'm sort of repeating myself a little bit here, but I think that we would emphasize the elements that we've already talked about. My hope is that working on the Kickstarter campaign with, for instance, a collectible version, the collectible card version, we will enable people to discover the play to earn possibilities of the NFT version. And that would enable us to bring in, let's say, more seasoned card game players from that side. But I might need to, yeah. It sort of slightly depends what you mean. New players.
How I mean, with the information currently have, how will the Kickstarter work? Like, for example, I know Kickstarter starter has different tiers of pledging, right? So, for example, if someone pledges $50, they will get an NFT in the game. And if someone pledges $200, they will get another NFT in the game. That's your plan, how to connect them to the blockchain? Something along among that line? Or you do not know yet?
We don't know. We know, but we want to keep it for now. We are developing the Kickstarter campaign, so we will share this information when we will be absolutely sure
All
of the
right.
function.
What exactly is your partnership with Taco?
Taco, as for Nodo 42, are a brilliant team, in my opinion, and they'll share with us all their competence in talking about smart contracts, all that word that stays behind these games.
Okay. Do you plan to have the game on multi-chain, like Ethereum and other chains?
Sorry, Bruce, I lost you.
Do you plan to make the game being multi-chain, cross-chain?
We didn't talk about that right now. So it's a possibility, of course, but we will develop it in future.
Someone asked, are we talking about MTG, I think Magic the Gathering like game when you say tabletop card game, or something else?
Well, I think there are the idea is that there is an element of that, but bear in mind that the game has a playing area, so it has a board, if you will.
Yeah,
and so that's what distinguishes it from something like Magic the Gathering. So you have your primary tool is the cards, but the actual playing area, it's a bit like a mix between Magic and Dungeons and Dragons, basically, if you will. That's
okay.
a very loose way of putting it, but that is kind of, yeah. That's sort of, in some ways.
This is the time to insert that meme. You had my attention. Now you wait. How was it? You had my attention. Now you have my interest. Something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, so it has that extra element.
Awesome. Okay. If the community demands, are you guys still planning to mint for golden frames?
Are we still planning to? Sorry,
To mint to mint more golden frames than the already 1,000.
No,
not for now.
no.
I'm sorry.
I saw already some people asked, what are you doing with the rest of the 1,000 golden frames minted that are not shared with the users? Because there
We
are 2,000. The limit is 2,000, right? And only 1,000 were dropped.
We are using it for content creators and for collaborators, for a lot of other meanings, of course.
All right.
It would largely be used for events and marketing, really.
Okay. Let's see what other questions do we have here. Reich, where are you from?
I'm from Italy, from Venice to be precise.
What is your solution when the time comes where certain cards or missions are not profitable anymore because it is negative in profit? This is a tricky one.
Yeah.
And I lost you for a sec, so I didn't hear all the questions. Sorry.
So, what is your solution when the time comes, if the time comes, where certain cards or missions are not profitable anymore because it is negative in profit? Like people losing money using a card or using a battle or sending something in mission.
I mean, I think the idea is to avoid that point coming. More than sorry, I don't want to be, excuse me, I don't want to be contentious here, but I think the idea is that we do everything we can to avoid that happening. And I think that in terms of what we've outlined, and once people have a better understanding of how we've tried to create this circular economy in terms of the tokenomics, then I think that is at the moment less likely. But of course, it will also be dependent on how the community that we develop responds, and the development will be ongoing. So yeah.
Aside from the drops, shitstones will be available through packs.
Oh, shitstones. Ugo?
Will
Any ideas?
be available for? Sorry?
Through packs? Through decks, do you mean?
Well, people are used with packs, right? With cells on Atomic Hub. I think that's what they're asking.
Right.
No.
Basically, if shitstones are only available in these 10 drops, or will there be in other packs in the future?
Right. No.
In these 10 early drops, of course.
All right.
It's just used for the purposes of creating the first card.
Understood. Can you tell us more about the card that the shitstone will create when blended?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, man.
that would be cheating, and I'm definitely not going to do that. No, that defeats the whole point. No, can I tell you more? Who are you? Can I tell you more about that? No,
you can't blame us for trying.
no, exactly. I appreciate your boldness, but no, I'm not going to tell you about that.
All right. Someone asked, there's something inside those shear stones. What are those? It's intriguing.
Well, I'm glad it's intriguing. It's meant to be.
We want you to find it, of course.
Okay. How many slots of cards can we use in the game? I don't think if you know that answer. This
in the early game,
well,
we are
sure.
okay. So we are planning to have 3 cards slot, but it's we are developing it again, so it can change.
Okay. Did you decide on what system you will use for the public drop? I assume not. I think we didn't decide on that yet,
No,
and will be
no.
announced. That will be announced later today in our Discord. Okay.
No.
Does the first brand have the advantage among other cards? Because it's really hard to get one.
Does the first what? Sorry.
The first blend, the Shearstone blend.
Ah, right.
Yeah, it will.
Okay. It seems that there are a lot of technical questions about the game which we are not ready to disclose yet because
Yeah.
it's not public information yet, guys.
No.
Keep in
No,
mind
we
that
want
the game
to,
is still in a very early stage, and
yeah, and then we want to share all the information about the game when we are completely sure about what we are saying, of course.
all right. Well, I guess this is the end of this first AMA. Thank you guys for joining me.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce.
Our AMA will be uploaded on YouTube if you guys want to hear it later or share it with your friends. Well, that's it. Thank you guys for joining again,
Cool.
and see you guys later.
Thanks a
you.
lot, Bruce. Take
Thank
it
you.
easy.
Thank you very much.
Take care,
Cheers.
everyone.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.